Unit 3, Lesson 7, Warm-Up and Explore. Simplify expressions. Notice none of the warm-up have an equal sign after them. That means they're not equations, they're expressions. All we want to do is simplify them. If we're adding and subtracting them, we're combining like terms, but if we're multiplying, then we are adding exponents. Let me say that again. When we are simplifying and we are adding, we are combining like terms, okay? But when we are multiplying, which we are doing here, we are, if they have any exponents, we are adding the exponents, okay? That's not the same as adding like terms. So this is the 1a is 2 times x times y times 5 times, you could rewrite this. You have to start looking at these as being disconnected. That's just 2 y's in a row and a z, okay? So we're allowed to pull them apart and go 2 times 5 is 10. I have 1x here and 1x here. That's x plus x, which is x to the second. And then I have 1y and 2 more y's, which is y to the third, and a y to the 1. So our final answer should be 10, I have no more room, 10 x squared y 3z. Okay, so this is the same, even though this looks, so this was kind of a monomial and a monomial, and this, or two terms. That's a term, that's a term, that's a term. So that's 3 different terms, but they're all being multiplied together. So you can think of them as all together. So it's -5. Let's do the numerical coefficients first. -5 times -5 times -5. Oops, not -5. 2. Wait, sorry. Got carried away. -5 times -5 times 2. That's what? 25 times 2 is 50. And then we have 1x, we have 1z, and we have y to the 4th plus 2 is y to the 6th. So usually you see them in alphabetical order. So that ends up as your answer. Oh. Did I do something wrong? Let me see. No. What are we making sure when we're adding exponents? We're making sure there's no exponents out here. If there's exponents out here, which is what I was thinking a minute ago, then we'd have to do some other things first, but there aren't any. I just want to do an example of that one real quick. If you have -5y to the second squared times 2z to the third, these are ones that you have to multiply first. So you can't just go -5 times 2. You have to do -5 times -5 and get a positive 25. And then a y to the second times the second, and then a 2 to the third and z to the third. So this is 25 times 8 and so forth. I'm just saying, if there's an exponent out here, that's where the multiplication comes in. So we did not have one of those for here, okay? These are all adding with no exponents on the other side of the equal sign, so we're adding, okay? Now this one here is this term multiplied by this term, by this term, by this term. So the numerical coefficients is 1 times a -2 times a -1 times a 4, okay? So let's see, 2 negatives make a positive, so 2 times 4 is 8. And then we have an x to the 1, oops, plus x to the 1, 1, 1, 1, plus 1, and then there's a 2 right there. So 8x to the 5th. Okay. If this had been x minus 2x minus x plus 4x squared, I hope you know that this would have been combining like terms. That's a 1x plus a negative 2x plus a negative x. So that would be a negative 2x plus 4x squared. Completely different than when you're multiplying things. So be careful which thing you have. All right, distributing like terms. This whole here, before we would just be doing something like that. We were distributing this negative 7 to here to here. Now we're distributing the entire negative 7x to the entire negative 5. So negative 7 times negative 5 is a positive 35. And then the x's, x to the 1 times x to the 1 equals x to the 1 plus 1 is x to the 2. Okay? And then this times this, negative 7 times negative 6 is a positive 42. And then that x comes along. I just have one of them. Okay? This one, you can think of this as a negative 1 times everything. So negative 1 times a negative 6 is a positive 6. Positive 7y, positive, oops, nope, negative 5. And these are not like terms, so we're not adding them together. So multiplying a three-term trinomial, polynomial, however you want to call it, by a negative 1 changes the signs to the opposite sign. Okay? It's the same thing as distributing a negative 1. All right, this times this would be 8x to the 3. And this would be negative 10x squared. So make sure you're bringing the x's along with you. When you have just one term, you're multiplying a single term by another single term. Distributing a monomial through a parentheses, that's the same as, here, let's see if we can do this. Multiplying monomials, that's what we did for all of these here. Multiplying a monomial through parentheses is what we did here. And then distributing a binomial through parentheses, or two terms, is one example here at the bottom here. 2 times x squared, 2x times 4 to the x squared, 2x times 2x times, okay? That gives us the 8 to the third. Remember, we're adding the 1 to the 2x to the 3. This one turns into a negative 14 2x, negative 6x, okay? This one here is from here, here, and here. Okay, this is what's going on. You can write it like this. You don't have to write it like this. You can just come up with this line. But some people do very well writing this out like this. The other way we showed was kind of lining them up. So if this first one is this term here, second one's this term, third one's this term, and then you come back around when you go underneath and go negative 20x squared, don't write it on the end here, positive 35x minus 15, and kind of just line them up underneath the other ones so this comes down. Some people find this very easy to, oops, that's a 2. Don't change the exponents when you're adding, okay? You can add them straight across. Just go find them and make sure you're combining them correctly, or just line them up underneath each other, okay? And I'll do this one on the next video.